A mountain that stayed silent for hundreds of thousands of years is suddenly moving upward. Why would the ground rise after such a long sleep? The answer is unsettling. Something deep inside the Earth is waking up. New satellite data shows pressure building below a volcano once thought to be dead forever, and scientists are paying very close attention. For nearly 700,000 years, the Taftan Volcano in southeastern Iran fooled everyone into believing its story was over. No lava, no explosions, no warning signs. Generation after generation passed, and Taftan stayed quiet, earning the label extinct. But Earth has a strange habit of surprising us. Recent satellite images revealed something unexpected. Taftan's summit is slowly rising, as if the mountain itself is stretching after an unbelievably long nap. Scientists noticed the ground lifting by about 3.5 inches in just 10 months between July 2023 and May 2024. That may not sound dramatic, but for a volcano, it is a serious signal. A rising volcano means pressure is building below the surface, and pressure inside a volcano is never something to ignore. Why would a dead volcano start moving again? Volcanoes don't always wake up with explosions. Sometimes they move quietly at first. Scientists usually blame sudden movement on things like earthquakes or heavy rainfall that push water deep underground. Both can change pressure inside volcanic systems. But in Taftan's case, scientists checked carefully. There were no major earthquakes in the region. There were no unusual storms or flooding events either. That ruled out the usual suspects. So what's left? The most likely cause is gas or magma pressure building beneath the volcano. Think of it like a sealed soda can sitting in the sun. Nothing looks wrong from the outside. But inside, the liquid heats up, pressure builds, and the can becomes dangerous long before it makes a sound. Taftan appears to be doing the same thing, only on a massive geological scale. Pressure is the real warning sign. The pressure source under Taftan is estimated to be just 1,600 to 2,700 feet below the surface. For a volcano, that is surprisingly shallow. When pressure builds that close to the surface, it doesn't always need lava to cause trouble. Even hot gas and steam can trigger explosions. These events are called phreatic explosions. A phreatic explosion happens when underground water suddenly heats up so fast that it turns to steam and expands violently. The result is similar to a pressure cooker exploding. No lava warning, no slow buildup. Just a sudden blast, the sneakiest type of volcanic explosion. Movies often show lava rivers glowing red as they chase people through cities. Real life isn't always that dramatic or predictable. Steam-driven explosions are sneaky. One moment, everything looks calm. The next moment, superheated steam, ash, and rocks blast into the air. These explosions can throw boulders as large as cars, send ash thousands of feet upward, and release scorching gases. For Taftan, this is exactly the nightmare scenario scientists are worried about. Lava doesn't need to reach the surface for serious damage to happen. Why Taftan is not just a local problem? Even if you live far from Iran, Taftan still matters. When active, the volcano releases sulfur-rich gases, especially sulfur dioxide. This gas can irritate lungs, worsen breathing problems, and reduce air quality. In the atmosphere, sulfur dioxide can turn into tiny particles that reflect sunlight, slightly cooling temperatures over wide areas. Gas doesn't stop at borders. Winds can carry it into neighboring countries without warning. Ash is another concern. Even a modest ash cloud rising high enough could drift into international flight paths. Aircraft engines are extremely vulnerable to volcanic ash. Just a small amount can force planes to ground immediately. A reminder from Iceland. In 2010, a volcano in Iceland, famous for having a name many people still can't pronounce, erupted and sent ash into the sky. Flights across much of Europe and the Atlantic were shut down for days. Millions of travelers were stranded, and global travel took a serious hit. Taftan wouldn't need to be massive to cause similar disruption. A moderate ash plume drifting into major air routes could affect flights across the Middle East, South Asia, and beyond. Small eruptions can still have big consequences. The monitoring problem no one expected. You might assume scientists would catch an eruption early with modern technology. Unfortunately, it's not that simple. Taftan sits in a remote region, far from cities and major research centers. Because it was labeled extinct for so long, nobody invested heavily in monitoring equipment, evacuation plans, or detailed hazard maps. Right now, satellites are doing most of the watching. Satellites are excellent for spotting large changes, like ground uplift, but they can't replace instruments placed directly on the volcano. That's why reclassifying Taftan from extinct to dormant was such a big deal. Dormant volcanoes demand constant attention. They remind governments and scientists that danger is still possible. A wake-up call for long-term risks. Changing Taftan's status forced everyone to rethink safety. Local officials now have to consider ashfall plans, gas warnings, and emergency responses. Scientists must ask uncomfortable questions. What if this isn't temporary? What if Taftan is entering a new cycle of activity? Volcanoes don't follow human schedules. What feels like a short phase to us could last decades in geological time. The slow rise of the summit might mean deeper magma movement, not just trapped gas near the surface. When a mountain rises, it's like the Earth inhaling, and eventually every inhale is followed by an exhale. In volcanic terms, that exhale can be explosive. Taftan is not alone. As worrying as Taftan is, it isn't the only volcano showing strange signs. Around the world, scientists are watching several massive volcanic systems that could affect the entire planet. These are known as supervolcanoes. A supervolcano eruption doesn't just affect nearby towns. It can disrupt global weather, food supplies, air travel, and even human survival. The scariest part isn't just the size of these eruptions. It's how little warning we might get. A supervolcano beneath a major city. Near Naples, Italy, lies one of the most dangerous volcanic systems on Earth, Campi Flegrei. This massive caldera last erupted in 1538, but it has never truly rested. The ground rises and falls, streets crack, steam escapes from the soil. Small earthquakes rattle buildings like distant thunder. For years, scientists believed these were clear signs of magma rising toward the surface, but recent studies changed that picture. New discoveries changed the story. In 2023, scientists focused on carbon dioxide emissions at Campi Flegrei. CO2 levels jumped dramatically after 2005, reaching 4,000 to 5,000 tons per day. That usually means magma is moving, but when researchers analyzed other gases, the chemistry didn't match that explanation. Instead, they found that super hot fluids underground were heating surrounding rocks, releasing gas without magma actually rising. A 2025 study added another twist. Lab experiments showed that much of the shaking comes from a sealed underground water and steam reservoir. Pressure builds until the seal cracks, releasing steam and causing sudden earthquakes. This explains something puzzling. The earthquakes often started near the surface and moved deeper, which is the opposite of what magma usually does. After strong shaking, the ground often sank slightly, like a balloon slowly losing air. Danger still exists. This new understanding doesn't mean Campi Flegrei is safe. Magma still exists deep underground. Steam-driven explosions can still happen suddenly and violently. What changed is how scientists think about the risk. Waiting for clear magma movement may not be enough. If humanity had only 1 year of warning before a super eruption, it would struggle badly. Food shortages, evacuations, and broken supply chains could overwhelm even the most prepared nations. That's what makes supervolcanoes truly frightening. Should we panic? No, but we should pay attention. Super eruptions are extremely rare. The last one happened about 26,500 years ago in New Zealand. On average, scientists estimate one occurs roughly every 100,000 years. Still, Earth doesn't follow neat schedules. Around 74,000 years ago, Indonesia's Toba volcano erupted with such force that ash covered huge parts of Asia and cooled the planet. Some scientists believe it nearly wiped out early humans. Then, tens of thousands of years later, New Zealand's Taupo volcano reshaped entire landscapes with another massive eruption. These events remind us that rare does not mean impossible. A volcano asleep for 700,000 years is rising again, and scientists are racing to understand what it means. Whether Taftan calms down or continues waking up, one thing is clear: the planet still has surprises waiting beneath our feet. If you found this video helpful and eye-opening, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel for more science stories that explain our world in simple, clear ways. Stay curious, stay informed, and we'll see you in the next one.